Yes, my name is Champ Crocker. I'm the district attorney here in Cullman County, and you can see that I'm joined by several heads of law enforcement. Joining us today are Cullman County Sheriff Matt Gentry, Cullman Police Chief Joey Duncan, from the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency, Captain Darrell Campbell, Sergeant Andrew Alexander, and Senior Trooper Brandon Bailey. One deadly crash is too many, and even though the numbers for deadly crashes in Cullman County have gone down this year, we've had some tragedies on the roadways lately. It's the holidays, and we're just here to caution people about drinking and driving, distracted driving, and driving too fast. I know everybody is overscheduled and in a hurry, but it's important to take time and be safe. Now, we are not here to discuss any pending cases or any ongoing investigations. We're here because we don't want more traffic homicide cases. As I said, one is too many. I want to thank the public here in Cullman County. Our citizens have assisted law enforcement, provided tips, and looked after their neighbors when tragedy strikes. And that's important because public safety, like justice, is everybody's business. I'm going to turn this over to Sheriff Gentry, followed by Chief Duncan, and then the troopers, and we will save time for a few questions at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, D.A. I want to thank you all for being here. One of the most important things that we can do is take care of each other in our community. One of the things that I'm proud of in Cullman County is we do everything in a group effort. Whether it's the city police department, the troopers, the DA's office, we're all here together to make our community safer. As we look, for me, this week is rodeo week, so as you know, this weekend we'll have our annual Cullman County Sheriff's Rodeo. But what that means is there's going to be more people coming into Cullman County. There's going to be more people on the road. And of course, our deputies are going to be out in full force. We're going to be out looking for potential problems, looking for those that are committing crimes, whether it's DUI or just under the influence of drugs. But this is what I would tell each one of you. Pay attention. We have the holidays, we have Christmas coming up. Pay attention. You're going to be traveling a lot. Pay attention. Don't text and drive. Don't drink and drive. Pay attention to what you're doing and pay attention to others. One of the worst things in the world is to be, whether you're a deputy, a police officer, a trooper, is to work those fatalities where the innocent are involved. Take care of yourself, take care of your families. Just like this weekend, I pray that everyone comes to the rodeo, we have a good time, it's good, wholesome fun for our families. I pray that you come to the city of Cullman and visit the markets, but I want you to get home safe. I want you to take care of each other, and you can only do that by paying attention. You can only do that by taking care of each other. If you go to a party and you see someone that's had too much to drink, don't let them drink and drive. One of the things that we see across the county is accidents where people are under the influence, whether it's meth, fentanyl, heroin, or prescription pills. Pay attention. And I will tell you this, if you're going to get out and you're going to drink and drive, if you're going to get out and do drugs and drive, we're going to put you in jail. We keep plenty of room at the jail for those that are going to do harm to our community. I want to thank everyone for being here. One of the most important things that we can do is get information out. And so I applaud y'all for being here to get that information out. So thank you.
As we get into the busy traffic flow in our city with Christ Kindermark going on and a lot of other great activities in our city, we just want to stress how important it is that if you're going to drink and drive, we're going to put you in jail. And the biggest thing is have a buddy to be your designated driver, because with our crashes, even though they're down at 70, 73 this year, we've still had a couple fatalities, and obviously one's too many. So we're going to do everything in our power to reduce those fatalities. The biggest cause of any crash we're having this year is still following too close, which is strictly linked to distracted driving, whether it's your phone or people not paying attention. They're stressed out where they're going because of the holiday season. So we want you paying attention, being vigilant, and just do the right thing. Another issue that we want to clearly stress is pedestrian safety. At this time, we've had, I believe it's 2 fatalities involving pedestrians in our town. So a lot of times if you're wearing all black clothing at night, or it's in maybe a dark area near a state highway, it's very important that you do not cross the highway. I think if you look at it on a speed limit of 50, the average pedestrian or the average vehicle is traveling at about 70 feet per second. That's hard to judge if you're walking across the highway. So we're asking everybody, if you're a pedestrian, just be safe crossing the highway, and especially with drunk driving, call somebody, don't get behind the wheel, because if you do, we're going to put you in jail. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'd like to say I appreciate this opportunity to address some of these issues we have in the state of Alabama on the roadways. First, I just want to say the reason we do what we do is because to save lives. That's what motivates us day by day. So we would like to talk and discuss about some of the primary contributing circumstances that cause these crashes. One, seatbelt. You not only have a responsibility, you the driver, but you also have a responsibility for everybody else in the car and is outside the car. If you're driving a vehicle, it's up to you to make sure every occupant in that vehicle has a seatbelt on. We're noticing on a lot of these fatal crashes that people are not wearing their seatbelts. Please wear your seatbelts. Be responsible if you're a driver. Make sure every occupant has their seatbelt on. Speeding. The signs I post are not a suggestion. They absolutely must be followed. If the speed limit is 45, please go 45. We know that nobody's perfect in this world, but however, we want you to be intentional. Try your best to do what is right. If simply we do that, then we can bring these crashes down. We can stop the fatalities. And reiterate what they said, one fatality, one car crash is far too many. We can talk about stats all day, but just that one, we've lost. Let's talk about move over law. If you see a police officer on the side of the road, or you see an emergency vehicle on the side of the road, we expect is your intentions to get over. If you can't get over safely, you need to slow down till it was safe and then pass the officer or the emergency vehicle. Distracted driving. We're seeing a lot of car crashes where people are crossing the center line, and that's only due to distracted driving. We're not only cell phones, but it could be occupants in the vehicle with you. You're talking, you're trying to controls on the temperature gauges, you're looking in your mirror, wherever the situation be. You might just look down for a split second. That's all it takes for these crashes to occur. To try to deter some of these crashes, in December 21st, we will start the 12 days of safety until January 1st. Every day, we will display on our page some of the things that you need to do to try to prevent crashes. Everything we talked about that contribute those crashes will be on our page to try to deter and stop this from happening. It's up to you. We all share a responsibility. And if you see someone doing something, report it to us. Call a law enforcement officer, call the troopers. We cover a very great territory, big territory. And one of the hardest things for a trooper to do, or any officer, especially during the holiday season, is to go to a loved one's house and knock on their door and tell them that their loved one is never coming home again. That is something you never can get over. This is why we're doing this press conference. This is why we're trying to prevent it before it happened. So before you get in the vehicle, you drink and drive, intoxicate, or you forget about doing the small things, think about that. Because all it takes is just a split second. A bad decision, it can bring bad consequences. Thank you.
We've got time for a few questions if there are any.
I know that you mentioned that traffic fatalities were down this year compared to other years, but as far as crashes as a whole, how are we seeing that compared to last year, maybe the year before that, and this year particularly? Are there any commonalities between these out of the topics that you guys just mentioned?
I can tell you that from the figures I saw in 2022, we had 30 fatal crashes in Cullman County. In 2023, we had 21, and in 2024, as of December 7th, we had 18. Unfortunately, we've had several, in a short amount of time. As far as the details of those crashes, not all those crashes are criminal in nature. Some are criminal in nature. Some are may cause a civil issue or just another type of fatal crash. However, as Trooper Bailey said, we don't want people to lose their loved ones here. And every one of those cases involve a serious, heartbreaking loss for someone. And that's what we're here to encourage people to prevent.
Are you mainly talking about county roads or the interstate in this area?
I believe that's in all of Cullman County, which would include the interstate.
Is there an increase of fatalities or accidents on the interstate?
As far as the number of wrecks themselves, I don't have those figures. I was just speaking to the fatalities. The troopers may have more as far as the number of wrecks.
We know the damage that, these wrecks, whether someone's injured or killed, can cause families, but what about, the other person? How serious is the DA's office about prosecuting people who should be held criminally responsible?
We're very serious about it. One of the first cases we tried was a reckless murder case that involved the death of a local individual, and it resulted in a long-term prison sentence for the at-fault driver.
Are you seeing prosecutions up related to traffic deaths this year?
We have seen an increase, yes.
Chief Duncan, you were, a couple of years ago, you used to, in the city, you would run a lot of, set up and run a lot of, are you intending on, you becoming chief, are you intending on reinstating that and doing more of that in the future?
Correct. So one of the things we're about to get rolling out, because of manpower, is a traffic unit again at Cullman Police Department. Those guys are specialized, whether they're traffic homicide investigators or reconstructionists, so they'll work all vehicle crashes and primarily target what's causing these crashes in high zone, high spot areas, which is through state data we can determine. We had huge success with that in 2023, 2022, so hopefully we believe it's going to get those crashes back down. Thank you.
Chief, while you're up there, I got one more question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe between November 20th and last week, all 4 of the fatal traffic-related crashes were in Cullman city limits, particularly on these highways. Just from working out in those areas, what are you seeing? What do you want to remind people, particularly in Cullman?
Like I said earlier, human error is a lot of time the cause of these vehicle crashes. Seat belts, it's simple physics, wear your seat belt, and in pedestrian crashes, we're encouraging pedestrians don't cross highways. If you do, use a crosswalk. If there's not a crosswalk, don't cross the highway. At nighttime, you're wearing, dark clothing, vehicles are just not seeing you. And at 50 miles an hour at a speed limit, that vehicle's traveling about 70 feet per second, so it's hard to judge the speed, So we're just encouraging people to be a lot more safer.
Thank you all.